Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Holly Township Council meeting of Monday, July 13th, 2015. Committee Committee roll call.
Calling the roll, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown is absent tonight. Mr. DeFalco.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Present.
Ms. Sykes.
Present.
Mr. Thiessen.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Right, everyone, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Verification notice, please.
This meeting is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act of 1974, and all provisions of that act have been met with adequate notice of this meeting having been published in the Township's two official newspapers on January 12, 2015, published on the Township's website and posted in the official Township Bulletin Board.
Great. So we'll go right into communications, and we have an important bit of information that I wanted to make sure that all the residents in the township knew about, and also those members of Public Works also knew about, and how we felt about what they do here for the township. And I have here a certificate of appreciation. I'll just read it real quick. It's outstanding service. It's in honor of your outstanding performance and dedication that we wanted to present in the Department of Public Works recognition for all the high standards and excellence. And basically, I'm not going to read this thing out. You guys do an awesome job, put it that way. You are not recognized the way you should be in the township. We've had a shortage of individuals in Public Works for a while. We're starting to build it back up. But you are doing a great job, from helping out with the events to what you do around the township with your staff, keeping things clean as best as you can, helping the residents through clogged drains. I know we had a crazy issue over on Green Street where there was a grate that was drained, where it was clogged, and the homeowners were getting filled with water. And between you guys coming out there, working late, pumping this thing out, finding where you had to go to get it, working with the county. You know, last time it rained, I got a nice email and I forwarded it to you guys, as well as Eric, saying, you know, water came and then it went down the way it was supposed to be. First time in like 15 years I think it happened over there. So I know there's still work that needs to get done over there, but this is a small piece of, you know, what you do every day that people, the residents in this town don't truly appreciate. They really underappreciate what Public Works does. They are not over-glorifying handymen that help out. You guys do a lot of hard work, and without Tim, you, Eric, you, I'm not sure if anyone else is here, I don't see anyone else, but you know, without you, the town would not survive structurally, maintenance-wise, parks, and you know, I wanted you to come. The council wanted you to come because you need to be recognized, you need to be appreciated, and you know, again, I want to applaud you for a job well done. With that being said, I'd like you to come up. I want to present to you this award. Eric, Tim, come on up here. And you know, we want to do more, so you understand that you're appreciated. But again, here is your certificate. And it basically says, like I said, that you know, this is for recognition for all high standards of excellence from the residents in the community of Mount Holly Township. So thank you for a job well done. I'm not sure if you guys want to say anything, but you definitely, you know, are underappreciated. You did a great job.
Thank
you.
No, honestly, I just want to thank,
Oh, you want me to get in that picture?
I want to thank you for supporting us and the rest of council, and Mr. Berry for helping us through our troubles.
All right.
And also, you know, we had a lot of help through our police department with Steve Martin, which is not with our town anymore, and our chief, Tom Mastrangelo, was a big help to us. I just want to thank them too for getting us where we're at to be doing what we're doing. So,
Definitely.
I just want to thank you, Mayor, Mr. Barry, everybody, council, and the residents of town. And like you said, we are underappreciated. We do the best we can with the resources that we have. I wish our men were here tonight, but they couldn't make it. But I also want to thank all the men that work in our department,
it wouldn't be possible
Yeah,
without
it
them. So
wouldn't be possible
we have
without
a
them guys.
dedicated crew.
Yeah, we have a good group of guys. They come to work every day, they do what they gotta do, and that's the way it
But I was telling Eric today, I mean, joking around, but again, it was a rare occurrence, but now I see it more, even at the July 3rd event, you know, you and Mike are driving around in the cart, you know, you're changing garbage and things, again, people take, you know, for granted, look, if there's nothing in the garbage, someone has to pick it up, but you guys did it, you have a smile on your face, you're happy, you're doing it, no, that's a crap job to do when you're at an event. I'm sure they'd rather be having a beer and watching the fireworks, doing their thing, but they're out there busting their butt, doing the stuff, and with a smile on their face, enjoying what they do. And it was just like 3 years ago, I don't know if that would have been the same thing. You know, today maybe a little bit different, and again, it's appreciated. So to give you a final round of applause. Thank you for all that you do.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I have on communications. Is there anything else? Further? We'll go right into the approval of minutes. This is the June 8th, 2015 regular session and the June 22nd executive session.
Yeah,
No,
there's no
there's
action.
no action on the 8th.
Look at that.
Resolution,
I see that.
There's 3 others.
so there's 3 others.
Does anyone have any questions, request changes for the special meetings, the 29th, the regular meeting of the 22nd, executive session? Move to approve. Is there a second?
Or we need to do these individually, because I know there were some people absent from certain
You
ones.
can vote on it in one motion. If anybody was absent, just indicate what meeting you were absent before. I'm just taking that.
Second.
I'm sorry, who's the first?
Mr. Yes.
Calling the roll, Ms. Sykes,
Yes.
you were absent from
Oh,
the
I was absent.
were you?
No, she
No,
was
okay,
present
sorry.
for all
I was
3.
here.
Mr. Thiessen,
Yes, I will abstain from the vote on the 29th.
What was that? Wait.
Special
Is
meeting
that the
was
one
the
I
special
was?
there.
You were
yeah, you were here. I wasn't here.
Oh, this is yes, but it was. Okay.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I skipped, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones?
Yes, with the exception to the 29th also. Abstaining from 29th.
And Mr. DeFalco?
Yes. And yes.
That's my next
Yeah, it's okay.
With 3 approval.
Yeah.
Now, it'll be
Motion carries, by the way.
awesome. All right, we'll go right to ordinances. We have an ordinance tonight, first reading by title only tonight. This is ordinance 2015-5. This is an ordinance amending chapter 68 of the code of the Township of Mount Holly to update and amend various fees charged for various licensing, applications, or other municipal services as provided therein. Anyone have any questions up here? Again, this being a first reading, any public commentary in regards to this ordinance will be held at the second reading, which will be a public hearing for. Jules, Jason, Betty.
Move to approve ordinance 2015-5 on first reading.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, next we have an ordinance, which is on second reading for this evening. It's also by title only. This is ordinance 2015-4, which is an ordinance amending chapter 213 of the code of the Township of Mount Holly. This is in regards to vacant and abandoned properties.
You skipped over here.
We'll go back to it. Yeah, we'll go back to that one.
Okay. Oh, there's got to be a public
Yep.
comment.
So with that being said, at this moment, I'll open up to the public in regards to the ordinance 2015-4, again, amending chapter 213 of the code of the Township of Mount Holly in regards to vacant and abandoned properties. If anyone in the public wishes to speak on this ordinance, please kindly raise your hand, I'll call you up. Your name and address for the record. Louis? Come on up.
Township and in Township. I wanted this ordinance is on, for unlawful entry, that's in this ordinance. What's the penalty for that?
I'm sorry.
For, let's say there's a bandit has some key entry, and
It's not what it covers. It strengthens, this ordinance we've adopted a vacant property ordinance about two and a half years ago, and since then, the state passed a statute, which is essentially an enabling statute, which allowed us to really strengthen ours even more and go to certain per day type of fines with regard to that. It strengthens our previous vacant property ordinance.
That's my question.
Thank you, Louis. We ever made a chicken here somewhere?
Okay.
Okay. Paul?
Commit council for action with a question. Does this also apply to Burlington, properties that are owned by the Burlington County Board of Chosen Freeholders?
Yes, it would.
Covers all properties.
Yeah.
So I would assume that you would be in contact in a not too distant future with the County Board of Freeholders in reference to what at one time was the County Superintendent's office, which is a corner property on High Street that is clearly in need of repair and painting if you want to maintain the outdoor decor, which is something I believe that the Township of Mount Holly is looking into. That property has been vacant for now easily a decade. There has been no repairs on that property for easily 5 years. So I think that your ordinance should motivate the chosen board of freeholders, of which we elect, to maintain repair of properties that they're not using. Would you not agree?
You're speaking about the property which was.
I'm
slated for
speaking
the veterans
specifically
one.
the property on the corner of High Street and I think Broad,
Mhm.
that was a former Burlington County Superintendent's
Across
office.
Truthville Prison or something.
Yes, sir.
Approximately.
That was one that they were
Absolutely.
trying
And
to
you know
make a
what?
veterans.
Well, I'm not sure
It
what
was
they were
something
trying to
related.
do, but I do
Quasi yellow
know.
with peeling paint.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do know they've made significant repairs with the prison and the old warden's home, yet across the street, that property has been neglected for easily 5 years. I think there needs to be some action taken. Thank you.
We touched on Paul. Anybody else in public? Once, twice, 3 times? All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of the second reading, of the ordinance. Bring it to council. Questions, comments? If not, action.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2015-4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Nikki?
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Beeson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Nice speak.
There's some soundtrack to this ordinance. They've built up the theme to say yes
I'm turning it off.
I'm definitely impressed now.
Everyone engaged now? All right. We got ordinance number 2015. We're going backwards in time here. Page 6. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 68 of the Code of Township of Mount Holly in order to establish provisions governing food handling establishments in the township. Again, this is by first reading only, so this would only be discussed amongst council and public hearing at the next regular scheduled meeting. Any comments?
Yeah, I do. I read it. What exactly are we trying to accomplish with this ordinance?
We don't have one currently, and we're issuing licenses without an ordinance in place.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to do.
So in essence, we're really not changing anything, we're just formalizing the process?
Yes.
Okay.
No?
Ready?
Yeah, what kind of licenses?
Food handling licenses for, like, restaurants,
Preparing food.
prepared foods.
There was something that we always used.
Well, there's an application, but there's nothing official.
Yeah, there's
In the
nothing,
codebook, I thought there was.
if there is, I haven't been able to find it, and I've searched.
Okay.
So are we gonna be doing the inspections now, or?
The inspection is done by the county.
Yeah, the suspensions are handled by the county.
Right, so we're not changing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't have a health department.
Yeah.
Right.
They always did the inspection.
So they do a good job. Is there action on this ordinance?
Motion to approve ordinance 2015-6.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, next we'll open the floor to the public in the public portion of the meeting. Members of the public are invited to submit comments during the public portion of the meeting. Council pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act will not publicly discuss personnel matters and may choose not to respond to comments made by members of the public during this portion of the meeting. However, the council will give all comments appropriate consideration and will refer all individual complaints to the township manager or appropriate township representative for resolution. Each citizen will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak in order to allow everyone an opportunity to express their opinions and or their concerns. So, that being said, those who wish to speak tonight, raise your hand. See, Paul jumped up first, so he wins for number one. Coming up, Paul.
Ma'am, if you want to go first, please do. If you'd like to go first, please.
No, thank you.
No problem. Welcome.
Do I need to give my name? or-
Yes, take your first and last name for the record.
All right, my name is Joan Smith. I've been a resident of Mount Holly for 60 years. And I get a notice because I have weeds in my driveway,
What's your address name again?
516 Homestead Avenue. I have always taken great pride in my property. I have my lawn mowed weekly, edge trimmed, snow is removed in a timely fashion. I have my trees on the property trimmed, and I get a notice for weeds in the middle of my driveway between two concrete slabs, which, by the way, they were dead by the time I got this notice, because I went out and got weed killer to do it. Not because somebody told me to, but because I felt that they should be removed. Now, I understand the need for rules. I was a teacher for many years, but I think you need to temper them with a little common sense. And I spoke to the gentleman who sent the letter, Brett Mitchell, not very kindly, I can tell you, when I got this. However, he said he gave out 400. However, because of the fine job that the public works are doing, there's still areas that need to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
I walk around this town every day. I take walks, and there are shrubbery overgrown right in front of the Ashurst Mansion on Gordon Street. I have to walk in the grass. I can't walk on the sidewalk. And yet they're going to give me a notice for weeds in my driveway? I think it's a bit ridiculous. Again, I think you need rules. I don't have a problem with it. But I think you need to temper them with good sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just get, I live in the Homestead neighborhood, let's put it that way. And I guess it was his area of activity. I got a notice too, just to let you know. So it wasn't singling out anybody. And
Well, I realize
mine
that.
was because my gutters needed to be washed. I think maybe we need to temper a little bit.
They need
That's all. I
Thank
think
you.
that some of them were sure legitimate, I'm sure, but I think some of them were just maybe a little bit,
Over the top.
we have certain properties in the town where, gutters are falling off and woodwork
Yes.
is rotting off and a necessary evil, but we need to temper it.
Paul Briggs at 12 Regency Drive. Admire the intent, and I concur with you as well. I'd like to thank you. First of all, I'd like to commend you for the July 3rd event. It was well done. I also feel that you have an outstanding public works staff. You've reduced your staff through budgetary issues with cause, but you're still not getting the support that you deserve from the Burlington County Board of Chosen Freeholders. It sounds like a broken record, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. You are a county seat. They are not paying taxes on 13 properties. They haven't maintained one for over the last decade. Yet they have dictated what parades should mingle through Mount Holly Township and when. They haven't addressed the parking issue, which has continued to create the conflict with downtown Mount Holly. Yet the Ocean County Board of Chosen Freeholders have constructed a parking facility at their county seat in Toms River. They have overspent building an underground tunnel to appease attorneys and politicians that do business with the county. Yet they have not addressed issues that would relieve the Department of Public Works through maintenance of property grounds. And I'm talking about grounds on High Street or grounds that precede county facilities, or for that matter, snow removal, leaf removal, because the bottom line is, if you want to be realistic and honest about it, they come into Mount Holly from all directions. So what that means is simply this: you have not been diligent, you have not aggressively pushed what the county board of chosen freeholders need to do, not because you pay taxes, which we do, but because it's a county seat that is receiving free taxes for 13 properties and have not maintained the property for over a decade. It's time to get back. So what I suggest is you have a meeting with the Board of Chosen Freeholders. This is probably the third time I've talked about it, and I think there's time to do something about it, because now's an opportune time. And the other thing I want to address, before I do have a couple of remarks I'd like to make, is this is where I'm really troubled. You have outstanding representation now. And I honestly do believe you have enough folks on this body, less one, and I'm hoping that you're going to bring 5 to meetings, because you need to have 5 to meetings to show the township that the 5 people really care, unless there's pressing issues. My point is this. I was a social worker in the Mount Holly area. I worked the gardens. I had a great relationship with Gene Stafford and the officers. And I happen to know that the community police officer loved working in the gardens. Please let me, I really do want to share these thoughts, and I'm not being confrontational. I'm just trying to address relevant issues. My question is, and I know, Jules, we've had discussions about this, I don't still understand the justification for closing the gardens substation when now, today, in 2015, the big push is community policing. That decision was made. I have my own opinion. I've shared it. I'm not going to be redundant. My point is, why cannot the county sheriff's department assist with patrolling the community, saving some additional revenue, coupled with the money that you recently gained through that brilliant idea to sell beer at an event, and pump the money into a youth at risk program that I've gotten off the ground after 3 years. The reason I have problems leaving is because I've been working over the last 6 months with Burlington City, Willingboro, and Mount Holly, and these 2 gentlemen have been most supportive to develop a youth at risk program for gangbangers. See, in Mount Holly, I've heard folks talking about we got bangers in the community. I'm doing something about it. I'm providing alternatives for youth at risk. And what I propose, and there's members of this council knows about because I've spoken directly to them. You have revenue from the beer. You have an opportunity to say, we have a police officer in Mount Holly Township who's an outstanding wrestler. He would love to work with this program. Officer Hal Harper's already working with the program. I got a wrestling mentor who was a district champion from RV. The point I'm trying to make is, you release a little time, you can get more of your officers to work in the community with youth at risk. And how are we going to cover that? You got the county sheriff's department picking up the load, because the truth of the matter is, there are times when you can have county sheriffs police the township because they do it now. These are forward-thinking ideas. And this is the direction I hope this council goes. Now look, and one of the young men that I'm working with happens to be ADHD like me, bipolar and classified, and he's going to be a state champion. Oh, and he's from Mount Holly. And he's only 12 years old, so I got 4 more years to work with him. So my point is this. You are at a great period in history for Mount Holly Township. You're on the verge of reaping revenue after the tax abatement, and you're creating interest in a community that can rejuvenate the public schools. You need to get busy with your county officials and make them what they always talked about, shared partnerships. Let's be real about it. You've been dogged for easily the last decade. It's time to get busy as township officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Definitely appreciate it.
Michelle Horvath, 442 New Canyon Drive, and I guess I had more questions about the lake or updates about the lake since we came about a month ago. I know you said you had to talk to the state, I believe, and you had a meeting coming up the following.
Absolutely. So we had a meeting with DEP, which was a very positive meeting. It was also with our environmental engineer, and the outcome was that, we received, I think recently, you got a copy too, of the cost, at least the planning cost to do phase one. And really, we're going to have to do it in a couple phases, which would be, one, the dismantling of the current structures. There obviously has all fallen in, so we want to utilize our own public works, the cost savings side of things, to pull the rubble and the concrete that's in there right now and dispose of that. And then possibly, Eric was there, possibly even put down the riprap that's going to go on there, depending on, time and allocation. So basically, what we're looking to do, to sum it up in phase one, we're going to do 3 phases as far as affordability wise. Phase one, we're going to decommission, it's already decommissioned, pull everything out of there,
So it's going to be free.
and put in a riprap, which is like grate covered stones, grate, like almost like a fencing over the stone to kind of go in. And they'll channel the water from the prior lake that has lily pads in it right now through it properly, which will get the New Jersey Department of Protection off of our backs on the dam side of things.
So you'll have the water back in that second lake then, and just flow.
No, it'll be a stream at that point.
It'll
It'll be a stream for that first phase.
Okay.
Second phase, which will be the following year as well, so it's
So
just,
it's going to ask how long you think
right,
each phase would be.
right, about a year, give or take. The second phase will be putting in explain to me the dam piece of the thing, but it's more of a steel rig dam that we're going to put in for phase two.
Yeah, I have to look at it again, but it's more of a, like I said, very, not similar to what was there before at all. It won't have a walkway in it. It'll perform the major function of a dam.
Which will bring up the water levels.
But it won't be near as, let's say, as fancy as the old one was.
And then the idea is after the water level goes back up, and we can, at that time, hopefully remediate some of the issues within the lake. Things stuff out, it's not supposed to be there, the water back up, etc., those type of things. Then the third phase would be funding for a pedestrian bridge back over it.
Okay, so is this, first of all, is that something we can procure a copy to read ourselves, or is this?
These are all this discussions we've had basically with your engineer and phases. One thing we talked about was putting together a dam remediation plan that we can post online so people can see the steps and things. We're working on that right now, so we can provide the public something that they can look at as far as kind of the best guess estimates of time. Ideally, the first phase, we were hoping to get done this year, middle of next year, which was get the riprap in there and procuring the funds to put the other dam in there. But again, those timelines all are based on our funding when that comes in. So that's.
So you don't know at this point when it would actually start?
I mean, the riprap one, we want to start as soon as possible. I think we're waiting for a backload to come in. So as soon as we get these things in, we're going to start working right away on the first phase.
So you can do what, back?
Yeah, we're getting a piece of equipment to do what we got to do, but the first phase, we look to start as soon as possible. As soon as the equipment is available, we'll start working on that, which will at least clean up the fencing that's there, and it'll then at that point be like one big lake with the riprap in there. We'll still have to put some small fencing to make sure people aren't walking across the riprap, but aside from that, that'll be the first phase.
So you're going to need at least another year before we can get water into the second?
Correct.
lake, though?
Correct.
And are you going to be permitted into that second lake to remove the debris before you try to fill it back up? Because I mean,
We're going to try to clean up
fill
the
it back up, it just gets covered up.
Yeah, we're going to try to clean up the best we can.
Okay, so I wanted to also say thank you, because after the meeting last month, what was it, Lorraine? Within only 2 days, somebody was
Not
at
long.
the bridge to clear away some of the brush. We brought up the concern that kids who are doing drugs and whatnot, that people were, anyway, it was cleaned up within 2 days, so you could actually get some more light in there.
Yeah, we have been working on it since we something that's discussed, because we admittedly said that we've been miscommunicating, or not communicating enough with the residents in the area. So amongst everything else that we've been doing, we've been trying to focus and make sure that we get moving forward, the remediation that we talked about.
And is this the best way to keep coming to meetings to try to get updates and status?
You're always welcome to come to meetings. We all have our email address on the website. You're more welcome to email us, call us, we'll respond back to you. You know, and hopefully shortly we'll have that document up online for you. So as we make changes, we can update that, and then you can go visit that site and see really what the changes are in as best real time as we can, as we get information trickled to us.
And the other point was that a lot of people had brought up that all three lakes are just grossly overgrown. That first lake, it's not even an island anymore, it's become part of the mainland. It's, I didn't even realize how bad it was, I hadn't walked around in so long. And it's just awful, and I don't see that anyone, I know you said something about a couple weeks to come up with a plan, I thought, to how to address all the overgrowth, not the problem with the lake in the dam being broken, just the gross overgrowth around all three lakes. About how, you talked about that more, came up with a plan about when you think you can begin
Yeah,
to
been hurting,
address
and I
that.
know we reached out to find out really what the riparian zone was around
Right
there.
back from DEP.
We haven't heard back, because they didn't, when we met with them, we asked the question, because there's some portions on the riparian zone, again, wasn't touching anything in that area. We didn't know if that was really there or not, didn't show on the maps that they have with them, so they had to go do some R&D, they haven't gotten back to us on it.
I
So,
wasn't talking about ripping the things out.
No, this is-
Just cutting, from 20 feet down to like 5 feet.
understood, you still can't touch it if that's what it is. Like even like if you go back over at Ironworks Park, over in that softball field, there's a riparian area that was built up over there, planted by the workers or something else. I think Randy know about it over there. And you really, I mean, there's a couple paths over there, but you're never supposed to cut anything back over there as part of the reestablishment of the trees and brush and stuff around the creek and all that kind of stuff. So, as soon as we hear back from them, we'll know more on that. Aside from the areas that we do know, we should be cutting them back.
I think what we want to make sure the public understands, there's quite an overtaking that they're allowing us to go in and clean out.
Oh, absolutely.
So the bank, they didn't give us the information on how deep we can go back. I think we were more focused in on being able to take our own equipment and clear that out. So it's like one thing at a time. So I think once we get that cleaned out, then hopefully we'll have an answer how close we can go to the banks, how high we can trim. It's very.
Because one guy in that meeting said pretty much we should be able to cut it down to
Yeah.
the bottom of the bank and then just go down like a drop off if you wanted to. The other one's like, well, we're not. So there was not really an agreement in the meeting on which way we could go with it. So at that point, we decided we're not doing anything until we get an official word from the state on what we could do.
Can we just follow up and make sure we're getting an answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
We sure will.
Don't we have somebody on the environmental committee who's looked at the state from DEP, or they're not in that?
No.
They're not
Not at all.
They're not in that department.
Like, I'll make a note to reach out to my DEP contacts tomorrow and find out. Yeah, 'cause I'm curious. And just to piggyback, another thing, I did get an email, here, because I think it's pertinent to this. Find that real quick. This was in regards to the area by the lakes as well, but not specifically the growth around the bank of the lake and the lake itself. Here we go. It's a real long, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is the summary. Really is as it pertains to Moore Drive and the Kent Lake Drive. So this is, Lake Drive is the right after 7-Eleven that follows.
Yep.
And really what the issue was the grass and everything that's over there. So you have the road and then you have those giant logs that put next to there that are kind of rotty. There's all that grass that's overgrown there. And again, going back to those who may or may not know about this, again, our public works are doing the best that they can. There's a lot they got to do. So, but that area, I did walk that area with my kids on Saturday, and it is a bit overgrown over
They
there.
got mowed today, I think.
All right.
It got moved today.
It did, so.
Yeah, it was good today.
So then-
Mayor.
It was just trying to buy its own.
I apologize.
Rewind.
No, we were,
Back to
sorry, I
that.
apologize. We've been backlogged because of the 4th of July event. They got to it this morning.
So, rewind, delete. Awesome job again, thank you.
And I apologize.
Perfect timing. The other thing was on Moore Drive, there's a lot of brush still on Moore Drive from the storm we had a couple
They
weeks
were out
ago.
today.
They were. But
We
then,
were out there today.
there we go.
Again, we're getting around as fast as we can. What's up?
Are we done now? Am I good?
You sure can. Come on up. I apologize.
And as we're thanking our public works, thank you all of Lorraine Ward, and I'm at 439 Newcomb Drive. They do a great job. They were out there today. And I called actually this morning to the leaf and brush pickup to see, I figured they'd be behind because of the storm, but to see when we could expect, because we all have a lot of stuff out. Within half an hour, I had a phone call back saying they were a couple days behind. I was like, wow, I should expect a phone call back. So that was great. So thank you for all that you do to keep our.
It's communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, they did come out, the township, and they kind of just started cutting everything down around the lake. So I put it down by the.
We learned our lesson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was our question, like, well, we did this before, so,
Yeah, we learned our lesson.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you said Lorraine.
Lorraine, yes.
Thank you very much for coming out. Louis, I saw your hand up.
Good afternoon, Councilor. Want to thank Total Work for doing a great job too. And want to thank to the Mahali Officer 11 for great fireworks display. I put the videos on the Mahali celebration. I don't know if you got it, but fantastic fireworks from keeping of it. I'm just curious about one thing on this agenda, the very last one.
This is 2015-115.
The 2015-118. I think that this was the second session for the last meeting. What this all about, do you know? I'm just curious to ask that.
George, Eric, elaborate a little bit on this resolution.
This is the resolution that we're looking at the ability to have some cost savings for the township. And we're going to be going through the process of looking at a layoff plan going to the state.
Just curious, you know, I was meant to ask on the last meeting, but that wasn't primary from last week. Second is, I appreciate Nikki for her advice. I came to the office in the third floor. She gave me advice and to go to the proper department. Thank Mr. Eric. I was doing going to fix my fashion team. And I think I hope, you know, to move in, you said by the end of August.
You see them being built now, right?
Yeah.
Quickly.
And Mama asked that, have they complete a sewage system?
Yeah, well, there's a plan in place for it. They did the improvements to that immediate area, I believe, and as they go along Levis, they replace the different pieces as needed. They worked that out quite a while ago. The master developer, Keating, had worked that out with the MUA. They replaced portions of it in different areas, and certainly the new laterals are all in for those homes. As to the main, I'm not sure if they replaced that particular area, because I think they started there and come down and connect it all in.
And Mama, Chris, are you going to think a future community department or houses like you used to have it back in the past, like a community service, like a new house?
The community center?
Yeah, like it used to be right across the street from the new houses. It used to be a community center, like a house. Do you think that's what we'll have one in the future?
Nothing is planned in that area right now.
Oh, okay.
I know the township itself is looking at in the future doing a community center for the town as an entirety.
I just got two more,
Real quick, Louis.
first, your property vacant. I just got one question about it. This property is owned by, I think it's been answered before, this property is owned by the freeholder of Duncan County in Mount Holly. What's the action on that? Do you comment or you stop?
We never did contact for that. I mean, that's an easement. The purpose of the ordinance really relates to safety issues and allowing our inspection department to make certain safety issues, as well as to, of course, notify when properties go into foreclosure, and then they quickly become issues, such as, for example, there was one property a couple of years ago that we discussed where a lot of water got in, it caused water damage, and one of our police officers had responded to a call, I believe, had fallen through the floor at one point in time. So, the idea behind this is to allow us to inspect it and then send out appropriate notices to parties who otherwise would be very difficult to identify and locate, and this beefs it up for everyone. That's what this occurs.
And one last comment about living by Holly is I'm about to stay up to 2 in the morning outside watching, deers, 3 baby deer, running through my Holly Gardens. That's a good thing. I appreciate. And I think that's all my thoughts. I can't wait, to go in there. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks for the request.
Andy?
Just, Randy Rockwell, 33 Union Street. Just quick, now that we have the mega PSE&G poles coming into town down Madison, and they moved all their lines over there and cut the other secondary pole short, I'm assuming in the near future, the cable companies or whatever will be moving their
Correct.
lines
I
over
spoke to
and
the
then
foreman
removing those
today,
poles.
Randy, and they said that it's a longer process, but they first move their wires off.
Right.
Once the wires moved off, they get their new poles, have pole numbers on them. There was a Verizon and Comcast, whoever else would be on that pole. Then they plan out to transition the stuff on the old poles to the new ones, and they pull the old poles out.
Yeah, I assume that's happening. I didn't know if there was a timeline because, it's less,
6 months,
awful.
give or take, they said.
Yeah, and there's one area by the hospital, there's just a zigzag of
Yeah.
lines that goes insane, and I don't know if there's anything they can do to, get it all on one side or the other, because it just looks like.
Remember, a lot of the
it's a
lower
maze
wire
lines.
that's on there will all be removed.
Okay,
That's the old electric cable.
all right,
That's all getting replaced by the top level one,
all right.
and then they'll come down.
Yeah, because right now,
Direct service.
it looks like,
It's a hodgepodge right now.
it looks awful.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that that's being followed.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Anybody else? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting and roll right into the consent agenda. We have a whole bunch of resolutions here. I'm not going to go through or read every single one of them, but that'd be 102 through 115 with the bill list, department reports. Well, I'm sorry, 101 through 115. And we'll go through Q. Then we'll pull that one out. No, we'll do it separately. All right? That'll be resolution 101 through 104, 106 through 115, the bill list, and the department reports.
and
Actually, you know what,
Doing ours separate.
we'll do R at the same time.
You mean S?
R, there's an S in mine.
There should be an S. Oh, hold on for a second.
R.
I revised it, so maybe I don't have a copy of it done. You're right.
Okay. All right. Everybody good with that? Take this on the agenda. So clarify what we're voting on here. It'll be, so A through D and F through R. Okay.
As written. You need a motion.
Move
move to approve the consent agenda as just read by the mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Please send a notice to Mr. Ted Jokowitz. Extension is till the end of this year. All right, we'll go back to resolution number 2015-105. Which really should have been outside of the consent agenda. I apologize that I just ran through and looked at it. But you make fun of her that she's turning red? What?
She wanted, she would like her name. We're very proud of her.
This is well deserved. You know, might as well ride that bandwagon tonight. You guys all do a great job. No, this resolution is appointing him to be the CFO of the township. She passed her test, which is very difficult. She knows more about numbers and how to make that make sense than I guess anybody here. That's for sure. I'd have you do my budget anytime. That's absolutely for sure. So.
I'll just point out that as a result of that, she will get to answer more of our auditors' questions. That's her last chance to back out.
So with great congratulations, I'd like to offer a motion to approve resolution number 2015-105.
I make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
The roll call, please.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations, please. God bless you. All right, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Resolution number 2015-116, a resolution appointing a township prosecutor.
Mr. Mayor, for the public's benefit, our prosecutor of many years, Mr. Bono, was appointed to become an administrative law judge, and as a result, he resigned the position. That's why this is on the agenda.
And George, do we have the applicants put into the position?
Well, it wasn't put out, there was no requirement that we put out the bid. You had Ms. Ellington, who had served as a conflict prosecutor. I prepared a resolution appointing her. You can nominate anyone that council prefers to, who's a prosecutor under that. She's been serving as a conflict and handled some other cases. That's what
No, it's all her. As far as I know, she's been doing a fine job, so she deserves the appointment.
Yeah, it's not on the, it's not in the resolution.
I had to
Which is
do-
why I was pausing, because it wasn't there as
I
far as.
prepared it.
No, it's there. I had to do and redo the agenda so many times it may have gotten left
Oh,
off.
yeah, I noticed that, so that's really.
Yeah, it's- it was-
I agree with the rules.
Resolution.
So if
Yeah,
there's.
yeah, I didn't get a resolution for that one yet.
But that's what is linked with it when it goes,
That's
Yeah,
what
it's.
instead of the resolution for appointing.
Okay.
It's at the same rate.
Like what I was saying, Mike, I also agree with Jules, so if there's any other, is there action on that?
Motion to approve resolution 2015-116, appointing Ms. Ellington as our township prosecutor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next, we have resolution 2015-117, a resolution appointing a township public defender.
Mr. Mayor, again, on this one, when Mr. Bono was municipal prosecutor in, I think, 8 or 9 municipalities, went to the bench, our appointed public defender, Adam Malamet, actually became municipal prosecutor in a couple of municipalities. As a result of that, he resigned his position as a result of court rules of the state of New Jersey I prepared the resolution for Mr. Daniels, who did send a letter of interest. He has served as a conflict prosecutor one of the conflict public defenders for several years. Mr. Yetman, I know, who is also a conflict public defender, was interested in simply and prefers being the conflict public defender. So I prepared it, but certainly the committee or council has the opportunity to appoint who they want, but I prepared it in that manner, the resolution.
So Mr. Yetman doesn't have an interest in being the permanent public defender?
He is very interested in continuing as the permanent conflict public defender, which he prefers.
Okay.
So with that being said, resolution 2015-117, that'll be appointing Gary Daniels as our township public defender. Any questions, comments on that? If not, is there action on that?
So moved.
Second.
You'll take it.
Roll call.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
And resolution 2015-118, I'll make a motion to table this resolution until the next meeting.
Are we able?
I think Mr. Berry needs to speak with the Labor Council about it further.
Yeah, I couldn't reach him at the last meeting.
I make a motion to table it.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
We'll go right into matters to be referred by the manager.
So we've already discussed. Thank you for your consideration, council, on my hard-working crew. Appreciate it.
Two things. I submitted the township's application for immunity. I don't anticipate any problems with respect to the COA obligation. The court was obviously flooded. They were due last week as a result of the Supreme Court's decision. I sent a short memo that you probably didn't get yet. It'll be probably to you by tomorrow. I'll let you know that. And then one other bit of news, which I'm glad to share with the council and the public, is that I also received word a couple days ago that TRF, the township's partner, and obviously in addition to the fact that we closed on the loans for the second phase, the first phase that Lewis referred to was obviously well under construction. The second phase should begin once some of the contract is out, because they closed on their grant and loan. They got a third phase of loans was approved by the state home for about $780,000. That'll almost fully funded. They have about roughly $200,000 where they identified the money, and I know that they were asking that the mayor and I go to the county to help them. There should be some other home funds. That third phase would be for another 6 units, all of which would be replacement units. So at that point in time, all of the former plaintiffs, the remaining homeowners from the gardens would have homes with the exception of between 1 to 3. The only reason the difference between 1 to 3 is that the third phase is designed as single story, which would leave it as 3 people remaining waiting for the final phase of funding. One of those apparently has expressed interest in just converting it to a single story, so that would get it down to 2. I'm pleased to indicate that to the council. And also just wanted to point out, as certainly as Mr. Falco and Mr. Jones know, that at the time that this was settled, some of the so-called naysayers who might have questioned the wisdom of council in settling at that time had warned against the possibility that we wouldn't get to this point, that it might not happen. And needless to say, it did. And I think everybody, including both of you, should be proud that we got to this point. We signed off on these applications, and we're very close to getting it completed. And so that's great news.
I can tell you it was nerve-wracking sitting there with the financial advisor, and they said, if all these things line up, then this will happen. They all lined up, so that's good.
And a couple of years ahead of schedule.
And ahead of schedule, absolutely. All right, matter to be presented by the council, Jason? Ready?
I just wanted to ask, on your letter, was that a warning or?
It was a
comment?
notice, but would be followed up by a summons.
Right, summons if it's not taken care of.
I think it's like 10
And
business days,
that was
something
the
like
other
that.
thing. It was dated The notice date was the 2nd of July. I received it the 6th of July, and it was to be cleaned up by the 9th of July.
Fourth of July weekend. Then the Fourth of July, right? No.
Well, you can blame whomever's there to.
Where do those come from? Like, who?
That'd be code enforcement, township code enforcement.
Just drive around?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, they went down my street. I get a lot of calls from my friendly neighbors.
I get walk-ups, so. Rolls to the house.
It's just, our Great Water Company, what kind of advance notice do they give us before major projects, if any?
You know what, here's none for you.
Well, the only reason I ask, obviously, is like they've torn up Thornton in order to install a new water line. I have no idea why they installed a new water line. Do we need a new water line, or is it just, and then they, at the same time, they replaced everybody's lines and meters, so within about 3 years, Thornton's gonna be a $100,000 piece of Swiss cheese that we're gonna have to replace. You know, do they need permits? Do they, like, you know, do we grant them permits? What kind of permits, you know, just because they want to install a new water meter, because it makes it more convenient for them, they're gonna tear up my streets, it's gonna cost me $100,000. You know, I have a problem with that. You know, in all the houses on Thornton, they had the water meters were actually in the cement apron. You know, they just tore that up and, like, you know, moved it and put a piece of asphalt there. What's the plan to replace the asphalt with new cement? Like, you know, there's no communication. There was no communication to the people on the street. They knocked at the people's, again, these are neighbors, they knocked at everybody's door at 7 o'clock in the morning and said, oh, by the way, we're shutting off your water now, you don't have any for all day, thanks. So we need to have a meeting with our water company and,
This is good feedback on what you're saying. You should come to it. I'm arranging just that because I have other concerns with them. So they're going to be coming in next week. I'll need a date, date with them, and we can have a discussion with not only our government liaison to American Water, but also the director of their infrastructure projects. And when it comes down to their capital improvement plan for Holly, and my biggest concern was we're doing things like, you know, all the road projects that we have, you know, behind Acme and everything else. If we have a project that's in that list, do it now before we pave it.
We may have to look at with the contracts, there's an agreement with the water company, are they allowed, what are they allowed, and what aren't they allowed to do? We'll take a look at that. You know, we gotta look at it.
We can answer directly to that meeting.
I almost got to the point of being real pissy because they're not supposed to start by township rules until 7:30 in the morning. Well, they were starting at 7. So I almost went down and said, nope, sorry, I'm gonna sit here for a half hour and have a cup of coffee. You can't start till exactly 7:30. But
Yes, CNG did that.
We could do that. We can do that.
well, you know,
Well, no, I reached out to, I did not get.
as we talked about, communication.
Okay,
You know, communication with the
this is
residents a
liaison.
little bit before your water's being shut off for 2 minutes for the rest of the day. You know, when is the cement apron gonna be replaced? Like, you know, and I realized they dug it up, I realized it's gotta settle, I realized that the patch is a temporary patch because it settles and they come back and put it in cement. Well, what's the time frame for that cement?
I agree.
Nobody knows. And that's just not, you know, not good.